Summer drinks and holiday binges, no matter the season, detox kits always show up. But are they actually flushing out toxins or are they potentially harmful? My name is Randall James, and this is Always Adaptive. And today we're talking about detoxes and cleanses. What are they, and what does science say about their efficacy? And we're getting into it right now. Let's start by asking, what do we mean when we say detox? For most people, it brings up the idea of flushing out toxins, resetting the body, or cleaning up after periods of bad habits. Maybe that's after a heavy weekend of holiday drinking or just feeling sluggish and wanting to feel lighter. But your body already has systems designed to handle harmful substances. The liver processes chemicals and waste, the kidneys filter the blood, the lungs clear out gases, and even your skin and gut play roles in keeping things balanced. So when we hear claims that a certain product, diet, or ritual can dramatically improve detoxification, we have to ask, what exactly is being detoxed? What toxins are we talking about? And can these methods truly enhance what the body is already doing? This is where a lot of confusion starts to creep in. So, why are we drawn to detoxes? Before we dive into the science, let's pause and look at why detoxes are so appealing in the first place. Because it's not just about biology, it's about psychology and culture. First, they feel like it works. Oftentimes, when people commit to something big in terms of health and lifestyle changes, they change multiple things at once. So they may have done a cleanse once and experienced some benefit, but without hammering down how many things they actually changed, who knows if the benefits they experienced were from the actual cleanse itself or if one of the other things is where the benefit came from. These are called confounding variables and are exactly why scientists control for these in studies. Otherwise, we could end up with conclusions like smoking reduces cancer or being overweight reduces your risk of type 2 diabetes, conclusions that we know are basically flat out wrong. There's also the emotional pull or the promise of a fresh start. Most people don't reach for a detox because they understand liver enzymes or kidney filtration rates. They reach for it because they want to reset. Maybe they've been overindulging and just feel off. A detox offers the comforting idea that you can wipe the slate clean, a symbolic fresh start for your body and by extension, your life. We also have the desire for control in a chaotic world. With constant news about environmental toxins, processed food, chemicals in everyday products, and rising diseases, people do feel overwhelmed. And I totally empathize with that. A detox offers a sense of control, like you're taking action to push back against the mess, even if the actual mechanisms are fuzzy or unproven. Lastly, there are also the social and cultural signals of wellness. In the age of wellness influencers and clean living trends, detoxing has become more than just a health practice. It's virtue signaling, let's be frank. It says, I care about my body, I'm disciplined, and I'm trying to be better. Detox rituals tap into this cultural drive for purity and aspirational health, even if the science doesn't back up every claim. So now let's go over the main types of cleanses we're going to be talking about today. There are diet-based detoxes. This includes juice cleanses, detox diets, fasting protocols, etc. Whether it's liquid only, cutting certain foods, or full-on fasting, the goal is usually framed as resting the digestive system or reducing inflammation or triggering cellular cleanup like autophagy. Then we have supplements and colon detoxes. This combines supplement-based detoxes like herbal pills, activated charcoal or powders, and colon cleanses or enemas. Both claim to physically flush out waste or toxins, either systemically or specifically from the gut. Lastly, there are sweat and sauna detoxes. This focuses on the idea that sweating through infrared saunas, hot yoga, or intense workouts helps eliminate toxins through the skin and boost overall detoxification. Saunas are a whole different topic that I could do an entire episode on, and maybe I will. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to focus in on the supplemental and fasting detoxes. I will touch on sweating a bit later, though. So what does science say about these detoxes? Let's start with juice cleanses. The juice cleanse industry was valued at $18 billion in 2023 and is projected to reach $37.16 billion by 2031. While juice cleanses are popular for weight loss and detoxification, there's very limited scientific support for their effectiveness. I want to talk about a study that highlighted that juice diets can disrupt the body's bacterial balance and potentially lead to adverse effects. It was entitled Effects of Vegetable and Fruit Juicing on Gut and Oral Microbiome Composition from 2024. There were 14 healthy adults, so this was small, but this is a notable study because of the results basically confirming what people have known in the first place. The intervention was 3 days of exclusive juice-only cleansing versus juice plus food versus plant-based food. The samples collected were stool, saliva, and inner cheek swabs collected before, after, and 14 days post. The key findings were super interesting. Basically, the juice-only group showed measurable increases in bacteria that are typically associated with disease risk when they overgrow, especially in compromised or inflamed gut environments, specifically Klebsiella species. These are known opportunistic pathogens, meaning they don't always cause harm in small numbers, but can become dangerous when they proliferate. Species like Klebsiella pneumonia are among the leading causes of hospital-acquired infections, including pneumonia, bloodstream infections, urinary tract infections, and liver abscesses. What makes them particularly concerning is their ability to form biofilms, evade immune responses, and carry multiple antibiotic resistance genes. In a healthy gut, you want these kept in tight check, not multiplying in response to a juice-only diet. Also, E. coli. While many strains of E. coli are normal residents of the gut, others can be toxin-producing, and even benign strains can contribute to gut barrier damage if they grow unchecked. Overgrowth is associated with inflammation, leaky gut, and of course infections, especially if the mucosal lining is compromised, which can happen during restrictive or unbalanced diets. The other thing they found is that beneficial bacteria decreased in the juice-only group. The two main ones were Faecalibacterium, which is known for its anti-inflammatory effects, and then also Bifidobacterium, which supports gut barrier function and overall gut health. This raised concerns because even a short-term juice-only diet could tip the gut microbiome balance in an undesirable direction, particularly if done repeatedly or without proper rebalancing afterwards. So why is this concerning? While the juice cleanse delivered antioxidants and micronutrients, it starved the gut of fiber and complex carbs, which are critical for feeding beneficial bacteria. Without their usual fuel, helpful microbes shrink, while opportunistic ones like Klebsiella and E. coli, like I mentioned, expand, taking advantage of the vacuum. This effect was detectable even after just 3 days. And although some shifts bounce back within 2 weeks, the study raises questions about repeated cleanses and their long-term microbiome impact. Now, why did I say that it confirms what we already know? Well, I did a video on probiotics that you can watch here, where I spoke about 3 different studies looking at the effectiveness of probiotics. And one thing that is abundantly clear from some of the data that I presented is that fiber is infinitely more important than any probiotic you would take, and that taking a probiotic has potential negative effects. So basically, we should not be messing with our fiber intake, and we should not take pills that are filled with billions of bacteria, except for very specific medical conditions. So if it were me, I'd leave the juice cleanses behind and focus more on increasing my own fiber take from the very same fruits and vegetables that would be found in said juices. That way I'm getting the best of both worlds. I get the antioxidants and other nutrients along with the extra fiber to feed the proper gut bacteria. Fiber also has another very useful role that we'll get into here shortly. Next up, let's talk about fasting. Intermittent fasting and time-restricted eating have both gained traction as dietary trends. Research indicates that intermittent fasting can lead to weight loss and improvements in metabolic health. However, it's becoming more and more clear that the weight loss is due to being in a caloric deficit, and in the fasting studies that are eucaloric or they isocalorically create a deficit, there are no differences between groups. For fasting, I want to specifically look at CRP. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to hammer down fasting's efficacy as a cleansing strategy. What is CRP? CRP stands for C-reactive protein. It's a liver-made protein. It rises in response to immune signals, especially from macrophages and fat tissue. Its main roles are to tag damaged and dead cells, trigger immune responses, and drive pro-inflammatory cytokine expression. So now on to the study. We're going to talk about this study entitled Effect of Intermittent Fasting on Circulating Inflammatory Markers in Obesity, a review of human trials. In this review, they only included human randomized control trials, and they were looking at the effects of time-restricted eating and alternate day fasting. That's what intermittent fasting is, by the way, and the effects on several inflammatory markers. For time-restricted eating, we had 4 studies reviewed. There was no significant CRP or high-sensitive CRP reductions. For early 6-hour time-restricted eating diets, this was eating between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. There was no change in CRP. For late 6-hour time-restricted eating diets, this is 12 p.m. to 6 p.m., no change in CRP. For 8-hour time-restricted eating, this would be 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., no change. And then also for 10-hour time-restricted eating, no change. The big takeaway from this study is that time-restricted eating alone, especially with less than 6% weight loss, does not seem to lower CRP. For alternate day fasting, they also reviewed 4 studies. Most studies did show CRP reductions, about 18 to 48%, but it was strongly tied to 6 to 10% weight loss. This supports even more the idea that obesity and losing weight are both very strongly related to inflammation. It suggests that weight loss equal to or greater than 6% may be needed for meaningful CRP drops. Overall, the takeaway of this study was that weight loss, not just the eating pattern, is key for lowering CRP. Time-restricted eating may not induce enough weight loss for CRP change, and alternate day fasting seems more effective when greater than 6% weight loss is achieved. There also were absolutely no changes in tumor necrosis factor alpha and interleukin-6 compared to controls. Those are two other inflammatory markers that they measured. So my thoughts on time-restricted eating and intermittent fasting are that I do think they're great tools, and they allow for a lot of people to more easily achieve a caloric deficit. But I think most of the benefits outside of that are overstated, and I think this study is just another example of that. There are a lot of them. So sure, fast away, but don't do so under the guise of this is somehow detoxifying your body or reducing inflammation unless it's allowing you to lose some body fat. Now on to liver cleanses. This is a big one. Liver cleanses are very popular right now, with the top 20 products generating over 38 million in annual revenue. I want to look at Now Foods supplement. It's called Liver Refresh with milk thistle. This supplement has one of the highest number of reviews on Amazon, with almost 4,000 reviews and 4.6 stars. So obviously a lot of people are buying this and they're pleased with the results. So let's take a look at some of the reviews. This is just for a laugh. So this first one is 5 out of 5 stars, entitled Necessary Supplement for the Liver. It says, I have been taking the Now Liver Refresh for almost 1 year. I trust the brand, and there are other Now vitamins I also take daily. Okay, so you're just giving it a good review because you trust the brand and you've taken other things. Okay, on to the next one. This next one really geeked me out. So 4 out of 5 stars, and it's entitled Apparently Good Product. It says, too early to say if it do or doesn't do what it's supposed to. That's all it says. Hilarious. And then this last one, 5 out of 5 stars. It's entitled Cleaning Me Out. It says, wow, I took this the night before and the next morning my liver cleaned out, and what a dump. How do you know your liver cleaned out? What, did you just take a dump and you think that was your liver cleaning you out? And this is the thing. People get tricked by a lot of this stuff. They don't know, like, yes, okay, you have a bowel movement. Does that mean that your liver is detoxified now? So every time I take a bowel movement, is my liver detoxified? That's not how that works. Anyways, I'm sorry. I just needed to laugh at that. But now on to the evidence. Let's talk about one of those main ingredients that you'll find in most of these liver cleanse supplements, milk thistle, or more specifically, the extract called silymarin. Now, I wanted to know if this stuff actually does anything, because if we're going to take a liver supplement, we should know whether it protects the liver or potentially stresses it further. So I dug up a systematic review, one of the most comprehensive ones I could find, looking specifically at silymarin's effects on liver enzymes. It's entitled Impact of Silymarin Supplements on Liver Enzyme Levels, a Systematic Review. These are your standard markers, ALT, AST, and ALP. If those numbers go down, that's typically a good sign. If they go up, it's a red flag. ALT stands for alanine aminotransferase, mostly in the liver, high equals liver damage. AST stands for aspartate aminotransferase, also in the liver, but also in other organs, high equals possible liver or muscle damage. And then ALP stands for alkaline phosphatase, also in the liver, but also in the bones. This review followed PRISMA 2020 guidelines pulled from PubMed and Medline and only included randomized controlled trials. They screened 1,700 articles and narrowed it down to 29 RCTs with a total of 3,846 participants across a mix of conditions from NAFLD to hepatitis, trauma, even Alzheimer's. Doses ranged from 140 to 420 milligrams per day, although some studies tested up to 1,200 milligrams a day, which is way more than what's in most of the supplements you'll find online. Here's what they found. 65.5% of the studies showed a reduction in liver enzymes. So that sounds good, right? 20.7% showed no real change. And here's the kicker. 13.8% of the studies showed an increase in liver enzymes. Now pause and think about that for a second. If nearly 1 in 7 studies on any prescription drug showed increased liver enzymes, which is a marker of potential liver damage, that drug would be pulled from the shelves immediately, or at least flagged by the FDA. But because silymarin is a supplement, not a drug, it gets a total pass. You can walk into Whole Foods and buy it without a single warning label. And I want to be clear, some of the studies showed promising results. For example, one of the studies looked at ICU patients after trauma. AST dropped from 215 down to 79, ALT from 181 to 58, and ALP from 272 to 154. That's a big drop, and it tells me that silymarin might be useful in specific situations. Another one of the studies was studying NAFLD, which is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and also showed strong reductions across all enzymes. But then you have other studies where ALT jumped from 20 to 38 in just 6 months, almost doubling, or another one where both AST and ALT increased by about 16%. So here's where I land on this. Silymarin is not a slam dunk. It's not some magical liver detox herb that works across the board. The data is mixed. Some people might benefit, especially those with fatty liver or post-injury inflammation. But taking it when your liver is already healthy, there's a real chance you could be doing more harm than good. And if that risk existed with a prescription drug, you'd hear about it all over the news. So before you buy into the hype of liver refresh or any other milk thistle heavy supplement, just know that the clinical data does not back up any of the marketing claims. If anything, it raises questions about when and if this stuff should be used at all. And the thing to hone in on there is that a lot of people talk about liver cleanses. How do you know you need a liver cleanse? Have you gotten your liver enzymes checked? Were they elevated? Why are you worrying about your liver if everything is hunky-dory? That's an interesting question you should ask yourself. The last type of detox cleanse we're going to talk about in this video are colon cleanses. Colon cleansing practices, including hydrotherapy and herbal supplements, have been promoted for detoxification purpose for a long time now. Medical experts usually caution against colon cleanses, citing a lack of evidence for health benefits and potential risks such as dehydration, electrolyte imbalances, and disruption of gut flora. That ties back into the fiber points I made earlier with the juice cleanses. So what does the evidence say about colon cleanses? I want to talk about two reviews. The first one entitled Adverse Effects After Colon Cleansing Procedure. This is from 2018. This paper identified 47 adverse events from colon cleansing practices. The type of adverse events were perforation or bowel tearing. There were 33 cases, 13 resulted in death, most common and most dangerous. 24 of those occurred in a medical setting. Only 4 occurred in alternative health clinics. There were also 6 cases of burns, all from self-administered hot water or coffee enemas. Now, you might laugh at that, but a lot of people talk about coffee enemas. There were also electrolyte imbalances, 5 cases caused by excessive water absorption, 2 deaths reported, but the link to the colonic was unclear. And then also infections, 3 cases, all due to bacteria translocating from gut to blood. Now, I understand that there's a huge problem with this study. It doesn't say the total amount of participants. And so without that data, it's impossible to know how crazy it actually is that there were 33 cases of bowel perforation with 13 resulting in death. But this brings me to the next study I want to talk about. This is a review entitled Colon Cleansing and Body Detoxification. Any evidence of benefit or harm? The authors pulled from 297 potential citations. Only 16 articles and 1 letter met inclusion criteria. Only 2 were clinical trials. The rest were case reports, case series, or reviews. None of them were of high methodological quality. No eligible studies were found supporting colon cleanses for general health, hypertension, asthma, IBS, ulcerative colitis, arthritis, sinus congestion, or alcoholism. One study claimed faster heroin withdrawal recovery and higher abstinence rates when colonic hydrotherapy and Chinese herbal medicine were added to medical treatment. But the methodology and endpoints were poorly defined and scientifically questionable. In this paper, there were also adverse events: electrolyte imbalances, septicemia, colitis, rectal perforation, there's that again, and death. So in conclusion, due to the complete lack of high-quality evidence for health benefits and the significant number of adverse events, including fatalities, the authors of that paper concluded that colonic cleansing cannot be recommended. The practice is considered potentially harmful, and its continued promotion is not evidence-based. And I think that's the broader point that I want to make about colon cleansing. Unless it's for a medical condition or colonoscopy, there's absolutely no data that supports its benefit, and there certainly exists evidence of its harm. So please think twice if this type of cleanse has been brought to your attention. Now I want to shift gears. We're going to go away from debunking, and we're going to talk about what actually works, what your body already does to detox, and how you can support it without falling for $300 juice fads. But how does your body naturally detoxify? Your body has a built-in detox system. You don't need to hack it, you just need to support it. Your liver filters your blood nonstop. It breaks down alcohol, meds, hormones, and anything else your body doesn't need. Your kidneys clean your blood too, flushing waste out through your urine, and your gut helps move toxins out through bile and stool. Your lungs help clear out gases like CO2 and even alcohol when you exhale. In fact, alcohol can cause a form of hypertension, that's high blood pressure, that's local to your lungs, called pulmonary hypertension. So if you ever get a weird nagging cough after like consecutive nights of drinking or something, now you have something to look towards. Your skin also plays a small part by releasing waste through sweat, but this is overstated, and I'm also guilty of making it seem like it plays a bigger role than it does. But hey, the more you learn, right? But I think the point here is that you're detoxing right now, every second of every day. If you weren't, you'd be dead. But what actually supports detox? Before we get into this, I want to make an important point. Yes, toxins are stored in fat. This is one of the few detox talking points that's actually true, but it's often used in misleading ways. Some fat-soluble toxins, things like pesticides, plastics, and persistent pollutants, do accumulate in fat tissue over time. When you lose fat, especially rapidly, your body can release those toxins into circulation, which temporarily increases your toxic load. So ironically, trying to detox with extreme fat loss or crash diets may release more toxins than your body can clear. That's why you need to support your detox systems while losing fat, or you risk reabsorbing what you're trying to eliminate in the first place. In comes fiber. I've mentioned fiber a few times now. Fiber is essentially your detox exit strategy during fat loss and also for other toxins. When your liver breaks down toxins, it dumps them into bile, which is released into your digestive tract. But if you're not eating enough fiber, particularly soluble fiber, that bile and those toxins can get reabsorbed and sent back to the liver. That's called enterohepatic recirculation. And it's like your body trying to take out the trash and then dragging it right back inside. Soluble fiber binds to that bile and escorts the waste out. Insoluble fiber also adds bulk and speeds up transit time so things move along before they have the chance to get reabsorbed. No fiber means no exit. But the rest of your detox toolbox includes the basics that always work. Hydration. The tried and true. Water is your kidney's primary fuel. It helps flush out water-soluble waste like urea, creatinine, and metabolites of drugs or alcohol. If you're dehydrated, filtration slows down. Waste builds up, and you feel it in your energy, your skin, your mood. Start with at least half your body weight in ounces of water per day, and more if you're active, and work your way up. Pro tip, and I believe this was from Andrew Huberman, the speed that you drink your water matters. So if you forget that you've drinking any water and you try to chug a whole bunch of it, that is going to increase your urge to have to urinate. As opposed to slowly sipping on your water throughout the day, that won't have such a big impact. The next thing you can do is sleep. You knew this one was coming. Detox doesn't just happen in your gut or liver. During deep sleep, your brain runs the lymphatic system. This is your brain's personal waste management crew. It clears out damaged proteins, toxins, and metabolic waste. The system works by circulating cerebrospinal fluid through brain tissues to flush out debris. The name lymphatic comes from glial cells, which guide this process and its lymph-like function, even though your brain doesn't have traditional lymph vessels. It only activates while you're asleep, and chronic sleep deprivation impairs this process. And over time, that adds up to brain fog, poor memory, and increased risk of neurodegeneration. Now on to my favorite, exercise. Movement accelerates everything. Physical activity boosts circulation, stimulates lymphatic flow, and supports liver enzyme activity. Your lymphatic system, which clears cellular waste, it doesn't have a pump like your heart, your circulatory system. It relies on muscle contractions and diaphragmatic breathing, and also temperature changes to keep fluid moving. Sweating isn't your main detox pathway, but consistent training also improves the systems that are. Think of exercise as your full body pump and filter system. Now, for the really obvious one, avoid unnecessary toxin exposure. This is the don't keep pouring junk into the system part. You can't live in a bubble, but you can minimize your exposure. Cut back on alcohol and ultra-processed foods. Reduce plastic use, especially with heat. No microwaving plastic containers. And watch out for synthetic fragrances in candles, air fresheners, and personal care products. Filter your drinking water, especially if you're on a well or municipal source with questionable testing. I know this isn't glamorous or sexy, but this is actual detox. This is also the case for just about any other topic out there. The best hypertrophy program, the best running program, the best diets to build muscle, the best sleep strategies. All of the best strategies for all of these different topics can be boiled down to a few really basic tips that account for about 98% of the benefits towards said thing. But let's be clear, detox can be very real in a clinical setting for things like heavy metal poisoning, drug and alcohol detox, and acute liver or kidney failure. None of these are handled with juice bars or saunas or 5-day cleanse kits. They're medical interventions for dangerous toxic overload. So what do I recommend? If you take one thing from this episode, let it be this. Your body doesn't need a cleanse. It needs consistency. Skip the 7-day juice fast and instead drink water, eat fiber, lift heavy, sleep hard, and stop nuking your liver every weekend. The detox industry thrives on insecurity, selling you the idea that you're toxic, broken, or dirty on the inside, and that for only $299.99, you can sip your way to salvation, while they laugh all the way to the bank. Meanwhile, your liver's just sitting there like, I literally do this all day, bro. What are you doing? If you're trying to lose fat, improve your energy, or support your liver long term, then build a lifestyle that makes your body less toxic to begin with, not one that needs constant rescue missions. But anyways, that's it for me. If you made it to the end of this, I just know I really appreciate you. You're sending the algorithm a great signal. But I hope you learned a lot from this. I really do. And I really enjoyed researching this one. And I learned a lot myself throughout the process as well. But once again, my name is Randall James, and this is Always Adaptive, a business born from the idea that your body is always adapting. Literally right this moment, whether you're sitting, standing, eating fast food, exercising, or whatever it is, that is an input into your nervous system, and your body will adapt and change because of it. So control your inputs and you can control your life. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on your way out, and I will see you at the next one.